Welcome to this EMS Web training session. In this session, we're going to be talking about updating and closing audits and inspections within EMS Web. So a lot of the fields can be updated once an audit or inspection is submitted. The checklist templates, the EMS items, the audit personnel, all of those fields can be updated after the audit or inspection is submitted. There are some fields that cannot be changed, such as the recurrence and the start and end date of the audit or inspection. When we close an audit, that indicates that there are no further findings that can be added to the audit or inspection. Also, once an audit or inspection is closed, if there are no open findings, then it will no longer be displayed on the audit inspection table. So if we look at an example audit that has been created, so this is an inspection that starts during the entire year of 2019. It is recurring and recurs every month. So there are 12 instances of this inspection. Each instant uses one checklist template, and each template is applied to 4 individual EMS items. So when we look at the users view and fill out checklist items, there are 12 of them, one corresponding to each month. Since I've been inactive in EMS Web for a while, it's asking me for my PIN again. So once I put in my PIN, it continues on, and now we see here are the 12 instances of the inspection that's occurring. So one for each month during the year of 2019. Each one of these inspections are applied to 4 pieces of equipment, anti-sinking device number 1 through 4. You can see that for the month of January 2019, the checklists have been submitted, and so all 4 of them have been completed, and this instance has been entirely complete. So when we look at updating this inspection, things change over the course of the year, and there may be additional checklist templates that we want to add in, or there may be some of the equipment that has either been taken out of service or additional items have been added. And so we can update the inspection to take care of these cases. So in this first example, I'm going to look at checklist templates, and I'm going to add in, well, actually no, I'm going to edit one of the templates. So I click onto the row that contains the template that I'm looking at, and you can see I can change the various fields related to this template. So I'm going to change the inspector. I'm going to change it from the Atlantis inspector, and I'm going to change it to the lead auditor. And so when I save this change, various things are happening in the background. Because all of the inspectors for these templates are tasked, when I changed the inspectors, the old inspector has all of the tasks closed out, and the new inspector will have new tasks created for all of the assigned checklists on this inspection. When I add in an entirely new template, so I can add in various, any checklist template that belongs to this organization. So I'm just going to pick one at random. And then I'm going to assign it to a person. And then pick the evaluation type. Okay, so again, things are happening in the background. So for this Atlantis auditor that got assigned to this checklist template that we just created, Atlantis auditor is now formally tasked within EMS Web with filling out the checklists related to this inspection. So that Atlantis auditor gets an email, and then it shows up under that person's My Dashboard, as well as the tasks under the Home tab. So if either of the people that have been tasked with the checklists go to this inspection, they would see that that there would be a new area here with a list of the checklists that they need to fill out. So when we now go to users view and fill out checklist items, things have changed. So you can see that there are now a total of 24 instances, and you can see that this new template has been added and applied to each monthly instance. So now for January 2019, there are the template, the original checklist template that was completed, and now we have the new one that has been added in. So I'm going to go back to the profile for this inspection. And now I'm going to go ahead and change the EMS items. So I click on EMS items under related items. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on edit. And so here are the 4 items that I've selected. If I have a large number of items, I can just click on Show Selected, and then that will only show me the ones that have been selected for this inspection. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to remove this anti-syncing device number 1. So I mark the checkbox and I click on Remove. Okay. And that now it's been removed. So I'm going to go back to the 2009 inspection and go back into this view and fill out checklist items. So now we can see that another change has occurred. So for all of the checklist items that have not been completed, you can see that anti-syncing device number 1 has been removed. But if you look at the completed one, we can see that there are still 4 completed items. And if we dive into the 4 completed items, you'll see that anti-syncing device number 1 is still here. And so that indicates that any completed checklists always remain tied to that inspection. So even if you remove the piece of equipment in question, the historical checklist checklist will always remain. And in general, you cannot delete or modify any historical checklists. What you can do is you can reopen a saved checklist if you're the organization administrator, and then save it again. So now we're going to go back to EMS items, and we're going to add in a new item. So again, we're going to check on the edit button. And this time, we're going to mark anti-syncing device number 5, and we're going to add that. Okay, so now you can see that it's been added because there's now a green check mark next to it. So if we go back to the inspection template, all right, and go back to the checklist items, we can see that for all of the instances that are not complete, we can see that anti-syncing device number 5 has been added in. The completed item is left alone. And do note that you can change the checklist template itself. So suppose you're in the middle of 2019 and you find that there is an additional question that you need to add to a checklist. So you can go to Checklist Creator, you can select the checklist template in question, and you can add in additional questions or remove questions. Once that checklist template has been updated, that change is reflected in the current inspections that use that checklist template. For any checklists that have information entered into it, so for any historical checklists or any checklists in process, the checklist will not reflect the updated checklist template. It will show the questions of the checklist template at the time that that checklist was filled out. So any historical checklists remain unchanged even if the underlying checklist template is updated. For any checklist templates, or for any checklists that have not been filled out or started, then they will reflect the updated checklist template questions. So when you update a checklist template, it only updates the checklists that have not yet been completed, and historical checklists always remain the same. Okay, so the idea then is once all of the checklists have been filled out, any findings that have been created as necessary have been created, you come to the end of 2019, you're at the end date for this inspection, and then you can go ahead and close out the inspection. And so when you do that, then if there are no open findings, then this inspection will drop off of the audit inspection table. So it will no longer be listed on this default set of open audits. If you close an audit or inspection and it still has open findings, then it will remain on this audit inspection table until all of the open findings are closed out. Once that happens, then it will drop off of this audit inspection table. So closing the audits and inspections at the appropriate time will keep this audit inspection table from getting too cluttered over time. The idea is that you really only want to see the audits and inspections that are still actively being worked upon on this table.